Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I am discussing homeostasis. Homeostasis is a state of balance in body. The process by which the body keeps the internal environment constant despite change in the external environment is known as homeostasis. Homeostasis means homeo, sameness or similarity. Stasis, standing. So standing in a similar condition. Essentially all the function of the body, organ and tissue aim keeping the internal environment at nearly constant state. Hemostasis refers to the body's ability to physically regulate its inner environment to ensure its stability in response to fluctuation in external or internal condition. The liver, the pancreas, the kidney, and the brain, hypothalamus, the autonomic nervous system, and the endocrine system help maintain homeostasis. Extracellular fluid, the internal environment. All cells live in essentially the same environment, the extracellular fluid. This is the cell contains fluid which is called intracellular fluid, and outside the cell the fluid is called extracellular fluid. For this reason, the extracellular fluid is also called the internal environment of the body or the milieu interior, a term introduced more than 100 years ago by the great 19th century French physiologist. The internal environment, milieu interior. In the extracellular fluid, which is also called the interior environment of the body, are the iron and nutrients needed by the cell to maintain cell life. It is from the extracellular fluid that cell gets the ions and nutrients needed to maintain life. External versus internal environment. Extracellular fluid, which is called the internal environment, the skin separates this environment from the outside world, which is known as the external environment. This is the fluid outside of the cell, which is called the internal environment, and it is separated from the external environment by the skin. Body constituents are normally regulated within a range rather than a fixed value. Here you can see that the range of sodium is from 135 to 148. It is not a fixed value, but it is variable from 135 to 148, and same for potassium 3.5 to 5, and the other ions present in the extracellular and intracellular fluid in order for the cell to function properly. For proper function of the cell, the internal environment need to have the right amount level of these substances variable, not too much and not too little. The internal environment must contain substances in proper amount or in right amount, like fats, amino acid, iron, glucose, oxygen, and its pH. This is taken by the intracellular fluid, and by chemical reactions, these substances are converted into energy or ATP, which is then converted into work. During this process, waste products are produced like carbon dioxide and urea. Control system. The body system is controlled by the nervous system and endocrine system and protected by the skin. Immune system. Skin is the largest immune system of the body. Essentially, our organ and tissue of the body perform functions that help maintain these constant conditions. The kidney maintains constant iron concentration. The gastrointestinal system provides nutrition. Here the lung deliver oxygen to the internal environment or extracellular fluid and take the carbon dioxide from the internal environment or extracellular fluid. The digestive system digests the food, add the nutrient to the blood, and from blood it is transferred to the extracellular fluid and then is taken by the cell. And the kidney, which excrete the end metabolic product from the extracellular fluid, which is produced during metabolism in the body, and then it is released from the cell into the internal environment or extracellular fluid and then is secreted by the kidney. And also the gastrointestinal system secrete the detoxify element in the form of feces. How is this achieved? It is achieved by feedback mechanism. Type of feedback mechanism: negative feedback mechanism. The effector response of the system is in the opposite direction to the stimulus that initiate the response. For example, a high level of carbon dioxide in the extracellular fluid will increase pulmonary ventilation, increase the amount of carbon dioxide expired, which will bring the level of carbon dioxide in the extracellular fluid down. Most of the control system of the body negative feedback mechanism. Positive feedback mechanism: the effector response is in the same direction of stimulus that initiate the response. For example, the nerve signaling enter a small amount of sodium into the cell will open more sodium channels, causing more sodium to enter the cell. Homeostatic control mechanism. All homeostatic control mechanisms have at least three interdependent components for the variable stimulus being regulated. A sensor or receptor that detect change in the internal or external environment. An example is peripheral chemoreceptor, which are present in the aorta and carotid artery, which detect change in the blood pH. The integrating centers or control center receive information from the sensors and initiate the response to maintain homeostasis. The most important example is the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that controls everything from body temperature to heart rate, blood pressure, satiety, which means fullness of the stomach, and circadian rhythm, including sleep and wake cycle. An effector is an organ or tissue that receives information from the integrating center and act to bring about the change needed to maintain homeostasis. One example is the kidney, which retain water if blood pressure is too low. Temperature regulation. Body has internal process that responds to change external condition. For example, when you are cold, you shiver. When you are hot, you sweat. These responses help keep your internal body temperature within a narrow range of close to 37 degrees centigrade or 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. Here in this picture, homeostasis, internal body temperature of appropriate 36 to 38 degrees centigrade. Internal body temperature, homeostasis, internal body temperature of approximately 36 to 38 degrees centigrade. When the temperature fall below normal, here when the temperature fall below the normal, there are sensors in the skin which detect this change in the body temperature, and these receptors send impulses through the ascending tract to the hypothalamus, which contain the thermoregulation center is activated, which is present in the hypothalamus, and the center is activated. By activation, the hypothalamus sends descending impulses to the two organs, the muscle and the vessels. Skeletal muscle rapidly contract, causing shivering, which generate heat. In cool, the muscle start shivering, and this shivering produce heat, and due to this shivering the body temperature is bring to normal value 36 to 38 degrees centigrade. The second mechanism is that when the body temperature falls down, the hypothalamus sends impulses to the vessels, and these vessels constrict, minimize heat loss. When these vessels constrict, the flow of blood in these vessels is decreased, and this decrease in blood flow causes less loss of heat from the body. On the other hand, when the temperature rises above normal from 36 to 38, these signals are sent to the hypothalamus or higher center in the brain, thermoregulatory center in the brain, and the thermoregulatory center in the brain is activated, which is located in the hypothalamus. This center then sends downward impulses to two organs, the blood vessels and the sweat gland. So the sweat gland secrete sweat that evaporate, cooling the body. When the sweat glands are stimulated, they secrete sweat, and this sweat is then evaporated by the air current, and it causes cooling of the body. The other system, the vessels are dilated. Blood vessels are dilated in skin, and dilation of the vessel causes increased blood flow. This increased blood flow causes loss of heat from the body, and the body temperature is bring to the normal 37 to 38 degree centigrade. Respiratory regulation. Acidosis means low pH. The potential of hydrogen is increased. This level being monitored by the blood pH. The change in the blood pH is sensed by the brain and arteries, which contain chemoregulatory centers. Part that compare change to normal level and initiate a response. It is the respiratory center in the brainstem, the medulla oblongata, the ventral and the dorsal respiratory center, which sense this change in the pH of blood, and it causes response, lung increase, respiration. This causes removal of carbon dioxide from the blood and add more oxygen. By this way, it increase the pH and decrease the carbon dioxide to low level. In acidosis, the carbonic acid level is increased, while in case of alkalosis, the carbonic acid in the blood increases. In alkalosis, the carbonic acid increases. Here the same mechanism, part that sense the change is brain and arteries, and the response is by the respiratory center in the brain, the dorsal and ventral respiratory center, and it has decrease in the rate of respiration. And this causes decreased pH, increase the carbon dioxide concentration, and then bring down the H2CO3 into the normal level. Blood sugar regulation. In this case, high blood sugar is a stimulus. This stimulation is sensed by the pancreas, which contains sensors in the Langerhans cells, and it produces insulin. These sensors are receptors which are present in the pancreas. They start releasing insulin. When the blood sugar level is increased, there is release of insulin by the pancreas. The insulin then acts on the cells and stimulate glucose uptake from the blood, and it also acts on the liver and increase the take-up of glucose by the liver, where in the liver the glucose is converted into glycogen. So when the blood is taken by the cells and liver, the blood sugar level goes down. In other case, when the blood sugar level become decrease or hypoglycemia occur, it promotes the release of glucagon. The pancreas, the receptor, it causes release of glucagon, and this glucagon act in liver on glycogen and break down this glycogen into glucose. And example of positive feedback mechanism. Childbirth is a good example of positive feedback mechanism. The baby push against the cervix, causing it to stretch. When there is labor pain and contraction of the uterus, it's put pressure on the baby and push the baby down the cervix, which cause stretching of the cervix. Stretching of the cervix cause nerve impulse to send to the brain. When here the cervix stretched, it sends impulses to the brain. The brain stimulates the pituitary to release oxytocin. Oxytocin is released by the pituitary gland, and this oxytocin causes the uterus to contract. So this is a positive feedback mechanism. Here the uterus stretch, the uterus contract and push the baby down, stretch the cervix, and this cause release of oxytocin, and the oxytocin then cause further contraction of the uterus. So it is a positive feedback mechanism. Blood pressure regulation. Normal blood pressure when it is affected by stress. So stress may either cause decrease in the blood pressure or hypotension, or increase in the blood pressure or hypertension. When stress cause blood pressure decrease below normal, this is the sense receptor detect change and cause increase heart rate and decrease blood vessel diameter. Two things happen in hypotension: the heart rate increase and blood vessel constriction occur, reduce its diameter. Blood pressure increases towards normal. These two effects, increase in the heart rate and constriction of the vessel, bring the blood pressure to normal. Here the blood pressure is become low, and in this case when the heart rate increase and contraction of the vessel occur, it brings the blood pressure to the normal value. In the other case, when stress causes a high blood pressure above the normal, the sense receptor detect change and cause decrease heart rate and increase blood vessel diameter or dilation of the vessel, and in this way bring the blood pressure towards the normal level. Disease is a state of disturbed hemostasis. Organism in hemostasis, external or internal. Any organism which cause change in the external or internal environment. So internal change result in loss of hemostasis. Organs attempt to compensate this change. Compensation fail, which leads to illness or disease. Compensation succeeded, a person is recovered and become wellness. So thank you. See you in the next lecture.